Welcome back. Futures this morning are mixed. Take a look. Dow Industrials higher by 230, but the Nasdaq lower by 327. Weighed down by certain earnings and Broadcom, a big sell-off there. The markets right now, following yesterday's sell-off, the stock market slipped yesterday when the S&P 500 snapped a 9-day winning streak. The Dow closed down 620 points. That was about 1.25%. The Nasdaq was down 239, and the S&P lower by 56. As the Iran conflict weighed on stocks, as well as pushed oil prices and yields higher. Take a look at oil this morning, however, pulling back at 96.53 on Brent, and crude oil is now at 94.93. That's down 1.1%. Interest rates recently have been spiking. This morning, they're pulling back, down almost 2 basis points, sitting at a level of 4.47% on the 10-year. Chipmaker stocks down this morning after Broadcom missed on revenue expectations. Broadcom stock is down in the double digits. The other ones are down across the board. Broadcom down 12.5%. Joining us right now is Equiti Group of Chief Market Strategist Noureldeen Alhammoury. Noureldeen, great to have you. Thanks so much for being here. How would you assess markets today?
When I think about despite the war in the Middle East, or the uncertainty or when this war will end, markets were able to maybe look through what is happening there, and despite that, and I think this was also driven by the AI earnings from one side, the resilience of the U.S. also the U.S. economy, despite the that we have also consumer sentiment at record low. But that's the only worry I would say, is that the divergence between consumer sentiment and also at the same time you're seeing the stock market at record high. That's basically, I think it could be just a short-term divergence, but at the same time the market will need a little bit more clarity going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, you have to be incredibly, stunned and impressed with this market performance since the end of March. I mean, stocks are up in the double digits. Nasdaq up 29% since then, even in the face of this war and spiking oil prices.
Indeed, but I think it also reflects the U.S. economy has shown real resilience, despite some weaknesses here and there, real strength there, especially when you look at the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And I think the rest of the world, when you look at Europe, Japan's beginning to look like it's getting its act together. So I think the markets are trying to see through all this global turbulence in the Ukraine, in the Middle East, what China's doing in the South China Sea. Yeah. But there are black swans out there. But so far, the U.S. economy has shown it can go through a lot of barriers. It's amazing.
It sure has. And Noureldeen, what's your sense of oil right now? Do your clients feel that oil stays elevated for some time? Or are they with the president's assessment that once this conflict is over, it reverses course?
I think it's not just only when, it's about also for how long, if it's going to, because so far we're still hearing contradicting statements from both sides. Now, I think the risk are, or most of the clients are still basically trying to look into some sort of a possibility of a long-term elevated prices, but we will have like a bigger reason for this to happen, which means if the Strait of Hormuz is continue to be closed for longer than another maybe 2-3 months, yes, we will look for higher prices. Other than that, it is most likely to see the prices stabilize maybe between $80 to $90 once the conflict ends. In addition to that, you have to not to forget that the rebalancing will take a little bit more time, so that will maybe take about 2-3 months.
I'll tell you, one of my guests yesterday said that he's expecting oil to go back down to 60 at some point. What do you say?
I think they might be proven correct. I mean, the record shows that that's very well, that could be the case, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Mm-hmm. That's my impression. And what I would be worried about, I call it the frightful fives. I worry about the possibility the average nationwide price of gasoline now at about $4.50 goes above $5. Yeah. And at the same time, the 10-year Treasury yield goes above 5%. One thing on consumer sentiment, that low level of consumer sentiment shows up with some problems repaying credit card debt. I'm shocked by this fact that for the year to date, despite the overall markets up by 10 or 11%, the median price of 4 major consumer credit card companies, their stock price down by 18%.
Wow, the credit card stocks are down that much.
The Amex and whatnot. Yeah.
That's incredible. Meanwhile, we're talking about all these IPOs coming to market. SpaceX is confirming what we reported yesterday. They want to raise a record $75 billion for the IPO, $135 a share. They're going to sell 555 million shares. That would value this rocket company at $1.75 trillion, likely trading on the NASDAQ to begin on June 12th. Goldman Sachs is the lead banker on this offering. And Noureldeen, I want to get your take here because you say SpaceX IPO is more than a stock market event. But valuation has become a concern. Yesterday, Ryan Payne brought up valuations. Then we had Kathy Wood on, who's had SpaceX and Tesla as her top two holdings for a long time. Watch what they said about this deal. Watch. So how do you think that you arrive at a $1.8 trillion valuation for SpaceX? How do you get there?
How do you get there? Well, it's a platform company, global communications. It could ultimately compete with all of the telcos out there as longer term Starlink goes direct to consumer. So that's a very big idea. Telecommunications is one of the most important sectors out there. And then this orbital data center opportunity is really the heart and soul of the AI revolution. That is a very big idea. And I think for those who have who think this deal is overpriced, I would refer them to the ChatGPT moment, which really became the aha moment for a lot of people. There is a demand shock taking place. The demand for AI seems to be insatiable because of how much productivity it is unlocking.
We keep talking about this big IPO, these three big IPOs that are going to come out, SpaceX, Anthropic, OpenAI. Collectively last year, they lost $25 billion.
Wow.
Yes. So I think, everyone's talking about, well, the dot-com era, these companies didn't make any money. Well, guess what? The three biggest players right now, arguably in AI, don't make any money. So I do think you have to be cautious here.
All right, Noureldeen, why is this more than just a stock market event?
Well, I think at some point you'll have to think about it's not going to be who has the best model, but who has the best infrastructure. In addition to that, you'll have to think about it from a way where the cost is how the cost is going to be. In addition, we're talking about the data centers, and it's going to be maybe in space. Whoever is going to have the best computing power, this is where it will stand out much more than if it's basically the best or the most powerful models.
Yeah, it's a good point to make, and it's also critical for the U.S. government right now.
Definitely.
Starlink.
And I think so. It's going to be integrated much more than we think, especially also with the military.
Noureldeen, it's great to have you on set. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Come back soon. Noureldeen Alhammoury joining us. We'll be right back. Stay with us.